what mindset shifts are essential for a professional to become successful as an entrepreneur?
You hit the nail on the head, and mindset has a huge impact in your business and your success as an entrepreneur. One major shift was really realizing for myself that I didn't need to have everything figured out before I got started. Point blank period, we could drop it right there. So progress really comes from taking the next step, and it just happens with that right next step. So it doesn't mean that you have to wait until you have certainty. You just get started. And I know that sounds irresponsible, but it is not. Your brain wants to keep you safe. And going into the unknown is not safe. So we don't want to do or take the step until we feel ready. However, you will never feel ready until you start.
And I would even add to that, that even if you do start, guess what? You're going to learn things that you didn't know before because you didn't know them, and you're going to address that along the way. That's just part of the process.
Exactly. I really had to release that idea of what my values were and how they were tied to, overworking or proving myself as an individual. And I know a lot of times for entrepreneurs, we tend to feel like we have to somehow show that we are capable of doing this. And that keeps us stuck. And that's where that mindset of we're going to get started before maybe we have everything figured out.
Always. And I take it from the perspective of, well, now it's kind of that beginner's mind concept. But in our house, we have a phrase, always learning, always growing. You are never going to know it all. And you shouldn't expect yourself to. If you run into a snag, surround yourself with people who know more than you. Invest in people who will invest back into you, whether that's a mentor or a paid coach, because time is money. And it is worth it to help you. We talked about in our first interview with Tiffany about how sometimes it's important and valuable. It's the best value to pay someone who's actually done this before to help guide you so you can save time and avoid the same mistakes that they've learned from along the way.
Yes, absolutely. And I mentioned about having a coach. If your coach or mentor has a coach, that's really showing that they are also understanding the need to have somebody come alongside you and work with you to move the needle forward.
Yes. Yes, I completely agree. One other question we want to shift to a little bit. You talked about it a little bit in our previous interview. You talked about it actually when you were working in corporate America. And then also you kind of carried some of that mindset with you initially when you first switched into becoming a coach and a consultant was difficulties with work-life balance and trying to find a way to handle those boundaries and set those boundaries, especially when you're self-employed. You will work harder for yourself than you will ever work for anyone else. I have learned that as a private practice owner. I have learned that as a nonprofit founder. You will work harder than anyone else. But because of that, it's very easy to blur those boundaries of that work-life balance. You even pay a coach to help remind you of when your boundaries get out of balance. So how do you maintain your boundaries with your business, with your clients?
Yes. So I make sure that we set clear expectations from the beginning. And I would say that any practitioner should be doing that or service provider because that's just good business. We want to make sure that the client is in understanding and that we are in understanding from the get-go about communication, how we're going to handle that, about timelines, about responsibilities. Boundaries actually protect the relationship that you're building and allow everyone to show up more fully and more present. When you're working with your clients, you're not taking phone calls from another client.